Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the KDL, where the postseason is starting to come into full swing. On Wednesday, we kicked off the round of 16 and solo matches. Now, here on Saturday, we have the wildcard match for the team match and the winners match for the solo round of 16. I'm very excited. I am State. I'm here with Peter. How you doing today, Peter?
I am very excited for today as well, State, because as you said, we are finally in that postseason now, and I feel like our matches are going to be really well matched.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. The solo matches that we casted on Wednesday, or I casted with Wolf, were just absolutely spectacular. We had some surprising results, some really exciting ones. And now we're really getting into the mix of things with a wild card match. That's going to be the 4th place team, MIRAENSEJONG, going up against the 5th place team, Desperado, later on today. So there's a lot of good kart rider to look forward to. And frankly, I couldn't be more excited to get started.
Yeah, the team match especially, I feel like it could be a bit one-sided if you take a look at the previous, what happened when they fought against each other. But I think they're still well matched overall.
Of course, looking at the team overview, we are finally here into the postseason. It is November. We are now on the wildcard match. That is 4th place versus 5th place. The winner of this match will eventually move on to play in the lower bracket finals. But before then, on the 22nd of November, the upper bracket finals. There's so much high-level kart rider to look forward to as we get closer and closer to wrapping things up on December 9th.
Yep, we're doing that wild card today to figure out which team will be able to face off against our 3rd place team from the main stage on that 25th of November.
Yeah, Rocks Esports, Songnam Rocks, they are waiting in the wings, and of course, whoever is victorious there will move on to face either the Freaks or Live Sandbox, so a lot to look forward to as we take a gander here at the prize pool. 100 million Korean won, and that is not the total prize pool. That is just the prize pool for 1st place. That's about, what, 90,000 US dollars. So a ton of money up for grabs here in the team matches. There's so much to look forward to, as well as the MVP and the fan vote as well. And here, looking at the main result standings, Kwangdong Freaks, absolutely spectacular so far this season, 6-1. No team actually went undefeated here in the first season of the KDL. And Live Sandbox right there in the 2nd seed. But today, wildcard match, MIRAENSEJONG versus Desperado.
It was definitely a competitive season of KDL, but our 5 teams for the postseason have been locked in. And as you pointed out, we are having that 4th place versus 5th place match today. And it seems like they're well matched if you take a look at their set scores, but the round scores is where there's a huge difference. Yeah,
it's quite surprising. I mean, we do have MIRAENSEJONG coming in 4th place. A lot of fans before this season were predicting them to take the whole thing because they are kind of a super team. And I mean, the fans absolutely corroborating that here. 88% in favor of MIRAENSEJONG. And normally when I see something like this, I like to kind of add some nuance, be like, okay, well, yeah, MIRAENSEJONG or so-and-so team, they are the favorites, but the other guys really do have a chance. Here it does feel like a little bit of a mismatch. MIRAENSEJONG has been the best team in item mode so far this season. Of course, they're also spectacular in speed, whereas Desperado, they've shown they can hang with the big boys when it comes to item, but they're getting outshined by MIRAENSEJONG in a big way.
That will certainly be an exciting thing to watch out for today. But of course, following that, we do have the solo match, round of 16 winners match, and you can see the fan predictions there. A lot of favoritism here for Cool, which is no surprise.
Yeah, Cool was the first player to win 3 tracks in a row to close out a solo match. And if you're missing the solo match, we have a new rule here in the season that has evolved from the preseason. If at any point, any player in a solo match before the finals, of course, as we wouldn't want the finals to get cut off very short, if they win 3 tracks in a row at any point, it's over. You don't have to go up to 50 points. They're just the champion of that match. And Cool did that on Wednesday in the first 3 tracks. I think we wrapped up match 1 of the round of 16 in like, I want to say 20, 25 minutes. It was absolutely absurd. Right. So the fans absolutely behind Cool, 2/3 of them taking him as their 1st place pick. And of course, NEAL, the global superstar, right behind him there at 16. But what a difference. 66% for Cool and 60% for NEAL. I've actually never seen NEAL so far behind anyone in a fan vote.
That's how dominating Cool has been throughout the KDL seasons. And of course, despite our 2 players who are possibly the most highlighted here, we can't forget a player like Luning, who won that solo finals in preseason 2. So this is a really packed group, especially considering that we have 2 players from each pro teams.
I mean, we also have the preseason 1 champ coming in, the preseason 2 champ, as you pointed out, coming in, and NEAL, the runner-up in both preseasons. So round of 16 winners match kind of shaping up to be a preview of the finals, I have to say. This is looking really solid.
Certainly is. And just to remind you guys, now that we are officially here in the postseason, for our wildcard match, we are going to have the track picks and bans like you guys may be used to if you have seen the previous preseasons.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that here in the pre-show. So this way, we're going to have a little bit of some time to build up the storyline, set the picture for you, frame everything up before we get into this match, and then later on we'll have a short break before we really kick things off. But this way, after the pre-show, the action is just going to be coming in non-stop, as the first choice is going to be coming in here for speed pick. Desperado taking map number 1. They're going to choose World Tour Miami Drive.
Yeah, that was a very quick pickup there. The stats, the records don't really support them too much over MIRAENSEJONG, but I'm certain they have a great reason as to why they picked that. And the second track coming in, the first track for MIRAENSEJONG, is going to be a track that they've played a lot on. Very comfortable. It's a pretty bad track for Desperado because they played 3 times and they lost here in the Glacier Extreme Stadium.
Yeah, that's a pretty extreme differential right there. 3-1 for MIRAENSEJONG and 0-3 for Desperado. I can't think of any other track having quite as severe a mismatch as, of course, the first 2 picks come in before the bans. And now the first ban coming through, it's going to be WKC Mexico, almost in Metro, Mexico Touring Rally as the first ban, and the second one, Desert Construction Chaos. So some of the more technical maps getting removed here on both sides.
That is what happened with our first set of bans here, and now the track 3 selection is up to Desperado. And honestly, I feel like the stats for the main season don't really matter. You just kind of pick what your team is comfortable on. And Desperado is saying they like Handy Harbor, and I feel like this is a very dangerous choice, especially against a team like MIRAENSEJONG. So I'm seeing some confidence here from Desperado today.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to be confident if they want to win a best of 7 in speed mode here against MIRAENSEJONG. And for Desperado, as Boom Hill Tunnel does get picked, by MIRAENSEJONG, Desperado coming into this one, we were all thinking that their win condition for the regular season is going to be relying on Banana, their item ace, who's very popular not just in Korea, but among all of the global fans, and riding his expertise and his leadership to victories to force ace matches and come through with wins. But so far, that hasn't really been a winning formula. And actually in item mode, which we're going to be getting to the draft in a little bit here, they're even getting outclassed by MIRAENSEJONG. So for Desperado, here drafting these speed maps, they need to have a game plan to come through with a win. You can see Banana right there with his handy-dandy notebook out, trying to do everything in his power to find the winning formula here, as the next ban will be coming through from Desperado in just a moment. Some deliberation, and it will be WKC Shanghai Circuit. I like that ban coming in from Desperado. Shanghai Circuit, it's a very difficult track. It can be punishing if you make mistakes. There's a lot of gaps you have to go through with tires, for example, where if you have a bad collision, suddenly you have one racer that's going to fall to 8th place almost no matter what. So it's a very tricky one. I think that's a good ban from Desperado, as the next choice is going to come in. I actually wasn't quick enough to catch that one, but 1-1 here for MIRAENSEJONG, 2-1 for Desperado. What was that choice? Oh, Village Bayside Bridge Run, so a bit of a field track.
Yeah, we've seen a trend in the bans where we've had a lot of the wider tracks being banned out, and Desperado taking Bayside Bridge Run. This is another one of those wider tracks. I feel like the main point of this track has become the build that everyone likes to take, sticking to that right path as they approach that 90-degree corner. And I'm excited to see how they're going to contest around that, as we see MIRAENSEJONG locking in their last track for speed, and they do have a pretty stellar record to back it up. I feel like MIRAENSEJONG has been prioritizing tracks that they just felt comfortable on throughout the season. And
Terracotta Twister is a track that usually in the regular season the pro teams are going to excel and the amateur teams are going to suffer, but Desperado actually had a surprisingly good record on Terracotta Twister overall this entire season. So that's one of the reasons why this track did not get banned by Desperado while we were drafting, and it's also while it remains here all the way down into round number 6. His Mine-Winding Slopes will be around 7. If we go to round 7, MIRAENSEJONG actually doesn't have a single map played on that track just yet. Desperado at 1-1, so a little bit of a question mark in terms of how MIRAENSEJONG is going to perform, but for a team as star-studded as their roster is, I feel pretty confident they're going to have a good chance there. And in speed mode, I do think there's a lot of pressure on Team Desperado to come through with a win because of how well MIRAENSEJONG has been playing in item mode thus far.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing because MIRAENSEJONG definitely have been doing great in item, especially with their round win streak that they were able to manage. But I feel like the speed is where MIRAENSEJONG has shown weakness this season. It's what caused them to play in the most amount of ace matches out of any teams right now, and that's why they're playing in that wildcard match despite being such a super team, because it was speed where MIRAENSEJONG struggled.
Yeah, they really excelled in item mode, which is kind of the opposite of what I expected when I saw their roster coming in. Usually we see 4-man rosters in KDL do well in speed and struggle in item because they don't have a dedicated item ace like Desperado does with Banana. That's why we have some players, or some teams, excuse me, running rosters of 5, maybe even 6 players if they have the coach that they want to swap in sometimes. But in this case, MIRAENSEJONG, they prioritized 4 players. They didn't want an item ace. And despite that, they had by far the best record in item. I think there was at some point in the season, they had like a 16 or 17 track win rate, or track win streak, excuse me, where they didn't drop a single map as the first pick comes in. MIRAENSEJONG actually 6-0 on this track. 1 loss there for Desperado. No victories just yet, as Forest Mushroom Games was the choice. And some really fast picks coming out from both teams. It seems like MIRAENSEJONG and Desperado both have a very good idea of exactly how they want to approach this. I like the choice of World Tour London Knight here for Team Desperado. I think that plays to their strength in having a dedicated item ace such as Banana, who can try and set up, you know, kind of the more wombo combo finish line plays, the Hail Mary plays with magnets, with nitruses, with attacks coming in at the final moment. Because the meta so far in item mode in the new season has shifted a little bit more to tempo and a little bit less to setting up big plays with big items. But on World Tour London Knight, because of the way the architecture on that map actually plays out, it still quite favors kind of the finish line, race to the end with everything you got strategy. And I think that's a good choice for Desperado.
Yeah, the strategy disparity, we're already seeing it here in the picks and bans. So far, we have 2 tracks picked, and it's important to keep in mind that MIRAENSEJONG, because they were the higher seed team coming into the wildcard match, they had the priority. They could have selected either speed or item, and MIRAENSEJONG, they took item priority. So we love seeing that they're pretty much going for that strategy we expected, where we know Desperado is such a strong item team, having been the most successful team with their attacks thus far. They just want to make sure that item is where they will not drop a set to Desperado rather. And now we can see that MIRAENSEJONG, they brought in their second track for item. They don't have the best record here, but when it comes to MIRAENSEJONG, they've had such a good item mode season that you can't really doubt this team.
I mean, they are the best team in item mode this season, just not to split hairs. Anytime you have a 17 track win streak over the course of regular season in a map mode or a gameplay mode that can be or feel as variable as item, you know, a lot of fans, they look at it and they're like, okay, well, there's just complete chaos. This is actually like not a skill. This is randomness. It's RNG based on items. No, that is not how it actually works, especially at the pro level. There's a ton of strategy that comes in. These players, they have game plans. They adapt to the situation that presents itself. And that's why teams like MIRAENSEJONG can win 7 tracks in a row, and why they're choosing item mode is their priority. They're going to get most of the map picks. They're going to have priority for 1, 3, 5, 7 on the draft, and that puts a lot of pressure on a Team Desperado, which does not have the best record in speed.
Certainly does. And now we have our set or 4th and 3rd bands coming in of the track. It's going to be Mother Lode as well as Dark Castle. And now we see MIRAENSEJONG quickly picking up Forest Misty Falls as their 3rd track. And it's no surprise they have a 3-win record here. That's 100% out of every track they played. And then for Desperado, they played 2 times and lost both of them. So I'm loving this strategy coming out of MIRAENSEJONG.
Yeah, I would say that the speed draft seemed relatively even. I'm not sure if I give any team particularly an edge in the speed draft just based on the way that the tracks were selected. Obviously, I think MIRAENSEJONG is a little bit stronger in team as a speed mode strategy, but the actual maps they're playing on, I think it's very even. But here in item mode, I do feel like Desperado's getting a little bit out-drafted. MIRAENSEJONG able to pick both of the forest maps. Those are arguably their best tracks here in item mode. And the pressure is going to be on Team Desperado to not get knocked out by, you know, possibly as early as round 5.
Right, and then we can see the tracks have been all locked in now. Desperado took Venice Gondola Tour for their 6th track of the match, and then for the final one, we have MIRAENSEJONG coming in with a track they've once again shown 100% win record on, which is the Cogwheel Crush. And honestly, it's no surprise that we're seeing a lot of 100% tracks for MIRAENSEJONG, because if you have a 17 win streak record for rounds in item, you're bound to have that 100% in many of these tracks.
Yeah, and if you're winning all of tracks like that, I mean, the amount of tracks that you don't play is also relatively high, right? You're kind of speed running through it. You're ending best of 5s in 3 games or 4 games instead of 5 games. So, yeah, really convincing records there for MIRAENSEJONG going into, I think, the postseason. They had something like a 75% win rate overall in item mode, which is just absolutely unheard of. Even in KDL preseason 1 and preseason 2, I'm struggling to think of any team that showed quite as much dominance in item mode as MIRAENSEJONG. So, from the drafts, I'm really giving them the edge.
Yeah, the drafts were definitely interesting. I feel like MIRAENSEJONG completely focused on the tempo-based tracks, which I think is playing to their strengths because they have one of the better records of defending against attacks in item mode. So I feel like they're looking for those clutch plays in the final moments, whereas we've seen from Team Desperado, they went for a lot of the more item-based tracks where in the final lap, you want to kind of have your wombo combo ready.
Now looking at how these teams got here, main stage match results, MIRAENSEJONG 4 wins and 3 losses, which is not too impressive over Desperado's 3 and 4, but just look at the differentials. Desperado in tracks actually had a -8 differential. That means they lost 8 more tracks than they won. MIRAENSEJONG is +14. So on paper, you might think, okay, 4 and 3, 3 and 4, this is actually relatively close. But if you actually go into the nitty-gritty with the specific tracks, it is so in favor of MIRAENSEJONG. And I feel like that advantage escalates when you go from a best-of-5 scenario to a best-of-7 scenario, because suddenly the variance over a couple of games becomes a lot easier to manage for MIRAENSEJONG. They can play poorly on 1 or 2 tracks and still have a lot of room to recover. They were able to take down a ton of different teams. In fact, most of their wins and most of their losses even all going into ace match. I think, in fact, every single player on MIRAENSEJONG played in an ace. They lost to Always, they lost to Guangdong Freaks, they lost to Finale, but they were able to defeat Rocks in an ace match, Team Nutmite in an ace match, and even Live Sandbox without going to an ace.
Yeah, 5 out of 7 matches played for MIRAENSEJONG have gone to that ace match, whereas for Desperado, they only played in 2 ace matches so far. So you have to wonder if there's more experience coming into MIRAENSEJONG if we have that ace match today. But first, let's take a look at the race history for the main stage. It was on the October 28th that we've had these 2 teams face off, and actually MIRAENSEJONG got quite the amazing achievement. They had the first perfect race of our KDL season, meaning they went 3-0 in speed, 3-0 in item.
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, and if I'm not mistaken, that might actually be the only perfect race that occurred in the regular season so far this year, which is just absolutely absurd. And of course, this goes back to the item mode getting a bit of a shakeup in terms of, now we have 3-star tracks that have new items introduced in the new patch. Nitrous Gauge is works a little bit differently in speed mode and in item mode. Additionally, coming into this thing, there's a little bit more gears, so it tends to go quite a bit faster, so that we have more tempo-based play. And because of all these new variables, all this change in the meta, we have a lot of more variance in terms of which teams are going to win an item, which teams are going to fail. But MIRAENSEJONG has absolutely adjusted superbly.
Yeah, we're talking about variance, but MIRAENSEJONG, that hasn't affected them at all, because we keep mentioning the win streak they had because it is such an amazing achievement that we've never seen the likes of it before in KDL.
Yeah, 3-0 Live Sandbox, 3-0 Desperado, 3-0 Guangdong Freaks, 3-0 Finale, and that's after they reverse sweeped Rocks.
Right.
And this is all in item mode, so kind of insane. 17 win streak is just absolutely absurd. You think about you play against, 7 different teams? The maximum number of wins you can get is 21. And they had 17 in a streak. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and now we can take a look at some of the strengths for Team Desperado in item mode, and they are our most successful team so far as attacks go. They are having that average of 14.69 rate of hitting their offensive items. And you can see Free Sky and Banana, they're leading at the top of that list.
Yeah, this seems to be the game plan coming in from Team Desperado, but the question that I'm wondering is this actually a winning formula? Because yes, Desperado is successfully completing, the most attacks of any team per minute in item mode so far this season. but that hasn't really translated into success. They actually have a sub 50% win rate in item mode, whereas SEJONG is in last place in attacks per minute. 8, almost more than 3 attacks per minute behind Desperado, and yet they have a 75% win rate in item mode. So definitely different approaches. Banana wants this more aggressive, tactical, we're gonna fight you style in item mode, but it hasn't really worked for them. Whereas MIRAENSEJONG playing more conservatively, just trying to build themselves up, has been able to convert a lot more wins.
Yeah, now we can take a look at the head-to-head records between the players from each teams, and it seems like in preseason 2 as well as the 2023 KDL that we're playing in right now, MIRAENSEJONG completely took that momentum. They're winning in items, and it was only in preseason 1 where Banana and Free Sky, they were able to find some success.
Yeah, I mean, Banana, even going back to preseason 1, really was a bright spot for whichever team he occupied in terms of being the item ace. He fills that role very successfully. I think he has a little bit of a different outlook, a different perspective on the way item mode should be played than some of these other teams. And over the course of the preseason, it felt like that was playing to his advantage. But here in the first regular season of KDL, this is where everything matters. It hasn't really been working, but at the same time, now you're in the postseason, you just played 7 matches in the regular season. Do you really want to mix up what you've been working at all season? I think you don't. I think you try to stay with the same game plan, but there have to be some adjustments if they want to win in item mode against MSJ.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see some of those adjustments today. But I love the key racers being pointed out here because Nock definitely has been a strong player for MIRAENSEJONG. He has been key in securing a lot of the 1-2s. You would expect Hojin and Hero to do a lot of the heavy lifting and speed, but actually Nock has been great at putting in his own scent. And then for Striker, I feel like Desperado really needs Striker and Ghost to be performing well in speed in order to contest that 1-2 strategy from MIRAENSEJONG.
Yeah, for Team Desperado, really the highlight for me, of course, Striker is a critical player. The fan race MVP absolutely corroborates that, but Ghost is the player that I'm looking at when it comes to speed mode because from the games that I saw from Desperado, especially when I was casting them and not watching at home, I really got a feel that Ghost would be the one running away, trying to contest first place or second place, but not having much backup. And so I think it's very critical that Striker is up there with him in the middle ranks or the higher ranks, contesting podium spots, and as you said, trying to break up a potential 1-2 from MIRAENSEJONG, because if MIRAENSEJONG can convert a win in speed mode after choosing item mode as their draft priority, and in addition to that having this insane record in item mode, that's going to be hard to beat.
Certainly so. So we'll need to see some great plays coming out of Desperado early on in speed to have some hopes of maybe an ace match happening. But now we can take a look at the team's predictions. And actually, it is quite MIRAENSEJONG favored. Not only that, most of the teams are expecting a 2-0.
Yeah, I think that's literally every team. Every team is taking MIRAENSEJONG over Team Desperado. So Desperado, despite this just being the wildcard match and there being a 1-win difference in terms of overall set score coming into this one, MIRAENSEJONG absolutely the favorites to walk away with this one.
Yeah, they are definitely the favorites, but we'll be right back after a quick break to bring you guys the match of our wildcard.
we go. Move it side to side. We gon' dance all day. We gon' dance all night. All we need is here and now. We say hi. We say hey. Throw your hands up, everyone. Yeah, we here to have some fun. We say hi. We say hey. Time to party, everyone.
name in your mouth, better add your respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throw it off of my brain and I'm back to the bone.
Welcome back, everybody. We are nearly ready to get the wild card match between MIRAENSEJONG and Team Desperado underway. The 4th and the 5th seeds battling it out to find who's going to play against Rocks coming up here in the upcoming bracket.
Yeah, the lower bracket finals, it would be certainly be exciting to see who faces Rocks, and we got to see a little bit into the stats of these teams today, and honestly, it feels like everyone's just kind of on the side of MIRAENSEJONG today, and I think there's a good enough reason for it. Yeah,
MIRAENSEJONG not only has the better record in speed so far this season, they have an overwhelming record in item mode, something like 75% win rate overall in tracks, including a 17 track in a row win streak. When these teams, they faced off each other in the regular season, it was the only perfect score, 3-0 in speed, 3-0 in item in favor of MIRAENSEJONG. So for Team Desperado coming into today, it is really going to be an uphill battle to try to take down one of these super teams.
And if there's a glimmer of hope for Desperado, it's that they do have the speed mode selection thanks to MIRAENSEJONG taking the item priority. So if they can win in speed, at the bare minimum, they could bring us to an ace match.
Yeah, I think that has to be part of the formula here for Team Desperado. I think that beating MIRAENSEJONG, even having Banana as good as he is as your item ace, is going to be so hard in item mode. It's going to be nigh impossible, I think, unless they really rework their strategies coming in and have something very special cooked up for us, because these guys you see on screen right now, MIRAENSEJONG, the newly formed team around the Emperor himself, Hojun, with their speed ace hero, Knock and Guard, are so solid. One of the best teams to enter this league. Frankly, I am surprised they're even here in the wildcard match, because this is a roster that could easily pave their way all the way to the finals.
This is definitely the super team that all of our attention was on coming into the KDL regular season. And as you mentioned, they've been having some hiccups with the ace matches, and it brought them down to the wild card. So today, they'll have to first face off against their opponent, Desperado. And this is a team that we've officially titled now as the best amateur team of the season.
Well, absolutely. They're the only amateur team that is qualified for the postseason. Everybody else here is a pro team, and you might say, yeah, they have a -8 round differential getting here. That's not the best, but it's the postseason. Anything can happen. It's 2 best-of-7s. This is a really solid lineup. Ghost, although he's the runner and not the speed ace, has been performing like a speed ace thus far this season. He is absolutely superb. One of the best individual racers that we have in team speed right now in the league. With Striker right behind him, if those two can work together and start to try and contest the podium finishes, whether it's 1-2, whether it's 1-3, I think Desperado has a really good chance at bringing a fight here to MIRAENSEJONG, but I mean, we're not going to split any hairs. They're outmatched. It's going to take some real heroics from this rookie team if they want to take down these guys right now. Knock, knock, after a thrill and ace match of history, MSJ opened the door to the postseason, and I think they are ready to rumble, Peter.
Yeah, they've had every single player play in that ace match, so they're boasting absolute confidence. Their speed average rank looks phenomenal across the board. You got to keep in mind that Guard, his rank is not very high because he's just sweeping everyone by himself, while 3 players are all contesting 1-2.
Yeah, and as a result, Hero, Hojin, and Nock are all almost top 10 individually. And we have like, what, 30, 40 players that race in a speed mode over the course of the entire season. So it's really some incredible stuff. I love Guard just kind of doing that self-sacrifice and being like, you know what? My position doesn't matter. We look to dominate the mid-ranks. We look for those 2-3-4 finishes. We look for 1-2 finishes. We look for 1-3-5 finishes. And that's the winning formula because Guard, his sweeping has been so superb. And even in item mode, as a hybrid player, he has really excelled.
On the other side, their opponent, Desperado, they have achieved a complete victory against all the other amateur teams. So now they just need to step that up and beat the pro team in MSJ today. And as you mentioned a lot today, State, Ghost being a key player there, a great speed average rank for his team. And Striker, it may not be, you know, highlighted as one of our best records. I feel like Striker still has had an amazing season so far.
Yeah, it's certainly an above average season for him, and I do believe he is capable of more. They're saying they're hoping to play with no regrets, and I think that is absolutely the mindset to come in here for Team Desperado. Just on paper, you know you're outmatched. You know the fans aren't expecting you to win. Even your peers, the pro teams, none of them are expecting Desperado to win. In a way, that can kind of take some of the pressure off. If you know that the expectation is across the entire community that you will be defeated by MIRAENSEJONG and they will advance into the top 4 in the postseason, suddenly you're not really playing to lose. You're playing to kind of, it's like playing with house money, you know? If you're at a casino or something, for example, like, you know what, just go for it. Just do what you gotta do. Give it your best shot. If you lose, have no regrets. Just bring everything you possibly can to the table. And I think Desperado, they have shown over the course of the regular season that they can hang with the pro teams when it comes to item mode. They beat the Freaks in item mode earlier this season. They nearly beat Live Sandbox in an item mode best of 5. They went all the way to track number 5. So Desperado, they do have their highlights. They are solid in item mode. I just think that it's gonna be a little bit of a mismatch, but who knows? Maybe having that pressure melting off of their shoulders here coming in, knowing the low expectations, is going to give them the confidence they need, the weight off their back to come through and show a stunning performance. And they're going to need to do it if they want to beat in the wildcard match MIRAENSEJONG. Let's kick it off on World Tour Miami Drive.
Our first track of speed kickstarts here, and it is Desperado's choice track. And this is a track, Miami Drive, where you need to have a great start. And Guard, he's just standing out for MSJ right now, but Desperado overall, they got the better positions.
Yeah, Desperado actually with a spectacular start on this one. We're able to hit pretty much every single boost coming through. A build that we don't see quite often as it makes one of these turns a little bit hard coming through. But now Hojin, the Emperor, upseating this a little bit, and suddenly you see the midfield for Desperado starting to struggle in a blink of an eye. Nock, Guard, and Hero are all contesting 3, 4, 5 spots.
It's looking pretty dire now for Desperado. Ghost is the only one contending this top 2 positions, and Desperado, they're locked in the bottom line right now. Hero doing a great job sweeping.
Yeah, and MSJ, they're gonna try and do their best to secure this 1-2 finish. You see Guard coming in, trying to join these top ranks and create some issues here for players such as Promise, such as Striker, such as Free Sky, because at this position, with Guard right now in the top 4, joining Nock and Hojin in first and second, the win condition for MSJ is just to try and hold on. And you see all these blocks coming through. The gap between these Desperado racers, oh my goodness.
Guard is doing such an excellent job right now, living up to his name, absolutely protecting the 1-2 from his team and Hojin and Nock. And Desperado, they're trying so hard to catch up, but they're not even within a draft range.
And this has been the winning formula for MSJ all season long. I mean, look at the body fights that are happening. Guard just body checking Ghost and Promise at every possible turn. He's gonna try and go for it again here on this one. Able to cut a little bit ahead of Ghost. And anytime he can cause issues like this, I mean, look at how many meters are separating these Desperado racers. Hero and Guard are like an impenetrable wall that Ghost and the rest of his teammates cannot pass.
That is what it seems like as MIRAENSEJONG, they kickstarted our track 1 in speed with such a dominating performance. Hojin and Nock, they're so far ahead that 3rd place is going to be locked in, even by their own teammate and Hero.
I feel like that has to be a record on this track. That was such a dominating performance. You know, the start wasn't the best there for Team MIRAENSEJONG. Desperado had a little bit of a better beginning, but MSJ recovered so quickly. It was basically time trial mode for Hero and Hojin for the majority of that one, and I am frankly stunned that we don't have a new record being set on this one. I actually wish I could look at the stat sheet and see exactly what the difference is, because that's probably as close as you can get to breaking a record and not doing it, because there was almost no competition for the leading two racers on Team MIRAENSEJONG because of how well Nock and Guard did in the rear ranks. It was some impeccable sweeping.
Miami Drive definitely tends to be a pretty snowbally track. If you get a early lead, you usually don't see teams give that up. But this time around, actually, MIRAENSEJONG proved the complete opposite, and it was near the mid portion of that track that they were able to take control, and they didn't let go at all in the choice of track from Desperado. So that's got to be digging some confidence points off of Desperado.
Yeah, Desperado, I think you just got to try and reset after that track and come back in. This is a best of 7. It's not a best of 5. Losing one track, that is salvageable. It's not the momentum killer you might think it is, but considering that was their map pick here in Speed, and now we're moving on to MIRAENSEJONG's map of choice for track number 2 in just a moment. The pressure is on. Desperado, you do not want to go down 0-2 in Speed against a team as good as MIRAENSEJONG in Speed, let alone in item mode.
Yep, and now we are ready to enter that second track chosen by MIRAENSEJONG, and it is going to be right here in Glacier Extreme Stadium.
And we kick off track number 2 in this best of 7 for Speed mode on MIRAENSEJONG's track of choice, Glacier Extreme Stadium. And once again, Striker and Ghost, the lead racers here for Desperado, but the pressure coming through from MIRAENSEJONG is already starting to add up. Hero quickly passing Striker, taking a beautiful line, and now Guard, even the sweeper coming through into a top 2 position.
Yeah, the most important part of this right now is going to be the backline. It seems like Nock is 8th place for MIRAENSEJONG. If Desperado can lock down Hojin and Nock into that 7th and 8th position, they could have a better shot with this midfield, but it seems like Nock is not too far behind on the minimap.
Yeah, we got a really brief shot there of the minimap, but it seems like it is quite close here as we enter the hairpin turns at the end of lap number 1. Hero and Guard not really contested right now by Striker and Ghost, excuse me. Although Team Desperado, they are starting to close the distance. Now 1-2, it is a win condition. If MIRAENSEJONG can hold on to Hero and Guard in 1st and 2nd place, they can win. There's nothing Desperado can do about that. So Striker and Ghost right now, as well as Promise right behind them, their game plan needs to be to break up this 1-2.
And Striker has been trying that so many times, but Guard's blocking has been absolutely phenomenal. Striker hasn't been able to find the angle. You can see Guard once again positioning himself so aggressively. This time it's not going to work out in his favor, so now the 2nd place is going over to Ghost. But MIRAENSEJONG, if they can keep Free Sky locked in 8th, they're still leading.
I mean, sweeping like that, it's kind of hard to do in a 1 versus 2 situation. Guard, he could stymie Striker for a little bit, but he, as a result, allowed Ghost to pass through. But since then, the rear line here for MIRAENSEJONG's been starting to strengthen a little bit. If Ghost can take 1st place, there is a real chance that Desperado can come through with a victory here. He has to pass Hero on the straightaway. I just don't think he has quite enough momentum. And no, that's going to be Hero in 1st place. The 1-3-4 is converted here for MIRAENSEJONG. And although it was a closer race than track number 1, Desperado is now down 0-2 in this best of 7.
MIRAENSEJONG, they were able to take back that midfield control so well. It seemed like at one point Desperado managed to keep MIRAENSEJONG locked to that 7th, 8th, meaning that 1-2 was an absolute win condition. But once MIRAENSEJONG caught up, that was no longer the case. Ghost having that 2nd place taken away didn't do anything because MIRAENSEJONG, they were 23 points against Desperado's 16.
Yeah, one of the things that we have seen from some of the best runners in the business, I'm thinking of NEAL, I'm thinking of Hojin, is how well they excel at recovering from poor starts. Hojin was near the bottom of the ranks at the beginning of lap number 1 for really the duration. And he was able to recover kind of off screen because we were so focused on the 1-2 throughout lap 1 and lap number 2. And around, what was that, like a top 4 performance? Top 5 at least for MIRAENSEJONG. So really fortifying the midfield. was able to convert a win. We're MIRAENSEJONG as we're going to see if they can go up 3-0 here in speed mode on track number 3, Village Handy Harbor.
And the race kicks off here in the Handy Harbor. This is Desperado's choice of track. And Desperado, they're favoring a lot of these snowbally tracks where the early game is super important, and you can see that priority coming through. Second, third, and fourth firmly in the hands of Desperado.
Yeah, but look at that track win rate right now, 75% for MIRAENSEJONG. I think even though this isn't quite the start that they were hoping for, as Guard once again kind of running away with this thing. It's rare to see him sweeping his way in like pole positions, as he was able to slow down Ghost quite a bit. Big collision there with Free Sky as well. Will allow Hero to try and close the distance as MIRAENSEJONG continuing the trend from track number 2.
Ooh, Hero is able to win that trade there and take that second place. Now Desperado, their win condition is starting to be shaken up. Guard and Hojin, they're in 4th and 5th. They need Free Sky to catch up to Hero right now. Otherwise, if Guard takes over, MIRAENSEJONG are in the lead now.
Yeah, I mean, MIRAENSEJONG has already taken the lead. I think that Desperado desperately needs Striker to start to close the distance as, I mean, we're already on lap number 3. Hero is contesting position 1, and Guard right behind him with some big body checks trying to unseat Ghost and secure the 1-2. But the midfield is so strong for Hero. We were talking about this in the pre-show. Oftentimes we watch Desperado, and it feels like Ghost is on his own, trying to fight a 1v2 or 1v3 situation. That's the story here again. It's 1-3-4 for MIRAENSEJONG coming through, and even with some collisions, it's going to turn into a easy 1-2-3, and in what feels like a blink of an eye, Peter, it is 3-0 for MIRAENSEJONG in speed mode here against Team Desperado. It will take a miraculous 4-track sweep for Desperado to come back and win speed mode, as the pressure is really starting to mount. And I feel like every single track, MIRAENSEJONG is looking more and more solid.
Especially, you got to give props to Guard's form today. He's been maintaining that top position while constantly going for really aggressive sweeping, and it could have compromised his line, but not at all.
And to double down on that, Guard coming into the postseason, he ranked 27th individually in terms of average placement in team speed mode. And that's not because he's a bad racer, it's because he's a sweeper. He usually tries to slow down the rear ranks and the mid ranks of the opposing team to allow Hero and Hojin to kind of work their magic there in position 1 and position 2. But coming into the finals, man, I feel like Guard is maybe the best racer we have on the field today, not just with his sweeping, but with his running. Let's see if he can convert that into a win here as they look to close it out with a 4-0 on Village Boom Hill Tunnel. Potentially the last speed track, as it is already match point. Desperado in desperate need of a win, and Ghost once again all by his lonesome. The load racer for Desperado in the top 4.
This is not looking great. Ghost is trying all he can. Actually, he bought a lot of space there for Striker to come in, but you got to keep in mind that MIRAENSEJONG, they're not far behind. They have this whole pack of group constantly ahead of Desperado that it seems like that 1-2 is just always here for MIRAENSEJONG.
Yeah, but I like to see Desperado starting to reinforce the mid-ranks a little bit. Striker now joining Ghost. Promise is also not very far behind. He works his way up into 5th place as Striker. Oh, I love that inner line. That was really nice. Was able to take the lead away from Knock for a moment there. Perhaps that momentum slowing is going to allow Ghost, after a really considerable collision, will allow him to catapult himself into 1st place. And Desperado looking really strong under pressure now.
Off of all those collisions, Desperado is firmly in the lead. Promise went for such an ambitious play, but it backfires on him. Now Hero is having that 1st place. Right now they're exchanging these crazy lines between Ghost and Hero, but Hero's in the lead. MIRAENSEJONG, they are far behind. They need Knock to knock Promise off the track.
That Promise falls down, and I think that might be enough for MIRAENSEJONG to be able to convert the win. They desperately needed Promise to stick in those top ranks, and man, you can see Promise, kind of a look of frustration there, and some laughs here from Team MIRAENSEJONG as they knew they were up against the ropes, but Promise maybe a little bit too greedy on that jump. He just barely clipped the top of the hitbox on those boxes. As a result, he falls to the bottom of the standings, and suddenly what was looking like it might be a Team Desperado win, MIRAENSEJONG able to take 4 of the top 5 spots. So, I mean, the pressure mounting, and MIRAENSEJONG in arguably the fastest best of 7 speed mode we have seen, even going back to preseason 1 and preseason 2. That felt like it was over in a moment, and let's not forget, in the regular season, the round robin stage of this tournament, before we even came into the postseason, MIRAENSEJONG 6-0 Desperado. They won 3-0 in speed, they won 3-0 in item mode. If I'm not mistaken, that was the only perfect score any team had against an opposing team this entire regular season. And now they've added on to that. 6-0 in the regular season, and starting here in speed, 4-0 in the postseason. They are 10-0 against Team Desperado heading into an item mode where MIRAENSEJONG has a 75% win rate. I don't know if Desperado's will be able to come back from this one. You can see Banana, kind of a pensive look on his face. He is feeling the pressure. He knows that as the item ace, as the captain of this team, all of the pressure, all of the responsibility, all of the chance for Team Desperado to force a potential ace match is going to fall on his play calling, on his shoulders. And that is an unbelievable amount of pressure to carry in a situation like this one.
And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the item track list. We went through the draft earlier, and it was MIRAENSEJONG. Because they were the 3rd place team in the regular season, they had the priority and they picked item. And we've seen the disparity of playstyles come out through the draft. We've seen MIRAENSEJONG focus more on the tempo tracks, whereas Desperado, they'd rather save up the wombo combo items and try to time their attacks and synchronization. And you have to wonder which playstyle is going to come out on top. Desperado playing the spear roll, or MIRAENSEJONG with the shield.
I like that. Spear versus shield. Oh, that's some beautiful imagery there. And also going back to your point in terms of kind of trying to prevent, for lack of a better term, the wombo combo setup at the end of some of these item tracks, such as World Tour London Night. I love the ban too coming in from MIRAENSEJONG. We didn't touch on this too much when we were doing the draft stage in the pre-show, but you know, sniping out Polar Half Pipe, that is a really good choice against an item mode team such as Desperado, because that's where they're going to be most comfortable, is when they can really set up those big plays. And it's going to take a miracle. They have to win item mode to force an ace match. Can Desperado do it? Let's go to track number 1, Forest Mushroom Caves.
Our track 1 of item begins in a 2-star difficulty track. So we are sticking to our usual set of items, and as we take a look at the head-to-head record for MIRAENSEJONG and Desperado, it's just so MIRAENSEJONG favored this year.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. 10-0 so far at tracks, but I'm liking the start here. Right out of the gates for Team Desperado, they have 2 racers in top 2. Some attacks are going to come in, slowing down Hojin even more, while Free Sky does get UFO'd. In fact, even a double UFO. Almost an alien invasion on him.
Yeah, it's important to keep in mind that MIRAENSEJONG, they had to utilize all of their inventory to try to catch up to Desperado, but Desperado is still firmly in the lead. So I feel like there's a huge advantage on the side of Desperado here. As you can see, Striker being the main focus of all our players.
Yeah, but coming back into this a little bit, if you have so many players in the top positions like this, it's kind of harder to get items such as Magnets and Nitrous, which tend to prefer a little bit the players lower in the standings. So there is some advantage here for MIRAENSEJONG to try and come back. You see Striker, Free Sky, they're mostly picking up shields, they're mostly picking up EMPs, not a lot of attacks, and to me, that shows that Desperado is making some adjustments. Coming into this one from the regular season, they were the #1 item team in terms of attacks per minute. MIRAENSEJONG was the last place, but MIRAENSEJONG had so much more success in item. And I kind of like this new take that Desperado is bringing right now. They're in a pretty commanding position here in lap number 2.
Yeah, Desperado is applying a lot of pressure on MIRAENSEJONG because Desperado was in the lead at the beginning of this track. And now here in lap 2, they are still leading by a big margin. Banana sitting on 2 shields here, so he's pretty comfortable. There's going to be a UFO shielded out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, this one. No EMP to dispel that UFO, but there's so many racers here for Desperado. I think they're going to pick up their first track win, but wait, Naki's right behind them. No, not enough momentum. Is look at that jump. It was almost like a perspective trick. I thought the finish line might be a little bit further ahead, but no. Knock with no chance, and Desperado taking track number 1 in item mode here against MIRAENSEJONG. A very important win. In fact, their first track victory against MIRAENSEJONG this entire season.
Yeah, definitely, because the last one was a perfect win over to the side of MIRAENSEJONG, right? So getting this track win after a 4-0 in speed definitely helps lift the pressure off the shoulders of Desperado, and we're just highlighting Banana here because he's been such a key of the success that Desperado has been finding in their item mode this season.
And I really like the change of game plan coming in from Team Desperado. It didn't seem like they were prioritizing attacks all that much there in track number 1. And I don't know if that's a track-specific thing or if they're going to be trying to convert that also here on World Tour London Night. But it seems like they brought some new plays here. They got some tricks up their sleeves. Let's see if they can keep the momentum going on World Tour London Night. London Night, another 2-star track, so we are not yet going to be seeing any of those new items from the most recent patch. There is a lot of water wisps got picked up here. Right out of the gates, Guard is in first place, picks up a shield. Striker Banana going for a little bit more of an inner line here as Water Wisp and a UFO comes out.
Yeah, now that we are here in London
Oh,
Night,
wow.
for our second track of item, we do have to keep our eyes on items such as Magnet and Angel. In fact, the magnets have been shuffled out pretty quickly. I see that adaptation now coming in from our teams because previously London Night was a track where if you pick up a premium item, you may want to hold on to it till the end, but now there's more priority, emphasis placed on tempo.
Yeah, and I actually really like that UFO that was coming in there about halfway through lap number 1. When you go on that little ramp where you need to jump over into the latter section of the track, just absolutely taking all the momentum away, forcing one of the MIRAENSEJONG players to reset. And that's a big win for them, is right now Free Sky and Striker in first and second place. Striker will get hit a little bit there, as will Free Sky, although no, actually able to dodge that water balloon. And he has a magnet up his sleeve, so we'll see when he decides to pick that up. Actually using both of them, so I would not be surprised to see him rotate and cycle one of those out. Indeed he does. That's going to allow him to catch up to Knock.
Yep, not a lot of value gotten out of that magnet, however, so he's going to pop his second one. And Knock is sitting with 2 shields. We're seeing a lot of shields on that top 3 players and a lot of missiles in the back. So it's going to be a lot of items being traded back and forth. No Angel on the field just yet.
I feel like Knock is kind of starting to run away with this thing. Now there is no EMP. Oh, he eventually does get UFO. Man, that was cycled so quickly. I actually didn't even see it get picked up there by Team Desperado, but that will take some of the momentum away from MIRAENSEJONG. Striker able to work his way back into first place. He has an EMP in case the UFO comes out for MIRAENSEJONG, or potentially a magnet. And Hojin as well right now. First place, got a nitrous and a shield. We'll see which one he decides to pop, as he will deflect that water wisp while picking up a new item. 500 meters left to go.
Hojin is in the lead right now, but he gets slowed down by the UFO. Knock is here, however, in response to be able to just take that first place easy peasy for MIRAENSEJONG. And now we are tied 1-1 for item tracks.
I like the start there for Team Desperado. I think on track number 1, I actually would have given them a little bit of an advantage. They made some really key plays, especially on that ramp, to kind of siphon the momentum MIRAENSEJONG was building, but MIRAENSEJONG, despite not having an item ace, were just able to really clutch that one out on lap number 2, lap number 3, come through with a win. I love the double combo with Knock and Hojin. You know, one of them is going to get hit by some aggro, the other one can carry the torch. And that's going to convert into a win. 1-1, the best of 7 is now a best of 5 here in item mode. MIRAENSEJONG fighting over these next couple of tracks to try and close this one out with a 2-0 win and avoid the ace. Desperado fighting for their tournament life.
There's certainly a lot more pressure on the shoulders of Desperado right now, because if MIRAENSEJONG loses an item, like you mentioned, State, they still have the ace match to play. And if they win an item, they don't even need to go to that ace match. And so far, the form of MIRAENSEJONG today has been the absolute peak, what we expected from them coming into the season. Desperado, they'll need to find the kryptonite to MIRAENSEJONG's item mode.
Yeah, well, I like the different strategies they're bringing to their table. Seems like they have gone to the drawing board, and Banana has cooked up some special treats for us. But we'll see what's going to happen here as we're getting ready to go into track number 3. All tied up 1-1 here in item mode. Let's move on to Graveyard Cemetery Circuit.
And the race kicks off. MIRAENSEJONG brings us back to a 3-star difficulty track this time around. And Graveyard Cemetery Circuit has been such a popular track this time around. And when you take a look at the track winning rate so far, Desperado, they did have a much better showing here.
Yeah, Desperado a little bit of a better showing as we have a couple of attacks come in. Hero starting to build a bit of a sizable lead. We'll see if Guard picks up any attack to try and slow down the aggression coming through as Desperado actually has a massive nitrous. My goodness, he gained so much ground. Does get Water Wisp, though, for his trouble. And here, once again, in first place, double shield. Guard right behind him has an Angel Shield, too. So a lot of defense here. For MIRAENSEJONG, the only thing they're really vulnerable to is the UFO, and I think I actually just saw Hero get abducted twice.
So what's interesting right now is that the whole entire track, we've been playing a 4v4. The teams are very separated right now into their own groups. Just two players each, and you can see the water bombs having huge value off of that. And the top position, Hero, is holding on to that so well. He's got a magnet for backup as well.
Yeah, SEJONG Cemetery Circuit has a fair number of narrow chokes where those water balloons can be quite effective, and we'll see if that comes to fruition on lap number 2 and lap number 3 as Hojun barely makes that jump. Hero still in first place for Team MIRAENSEJONG as Hojun is going to try and line up that water balloon. Only catches one, so not the best. Oh man, Promise barely clipping that.
Yeah, those water bombs didn't get too many players, but they got the right people. Now Striker, he's going to get UFO down. Guard looking for the Hail Mary play. He held on to that Angel. It seems like there's Angel apiece for both teams.
Yeah, Angel apiece for both teams. No Thunderbolts just yet, no Lightning coming through as we finally enter the last lap and taking a quick inventory here. Promise with double Nitrous for Team Desperado and Striker with a Nitrous and Magnet. Those are the two players I am keeping my eyes on as potentially the ones to try and cross the finish line first for Team Desperado.
And for Desperado, as you said, Banana's been a player that's been gunning for that first place finish, but this time around, he's playing a support role. Actually, Striker got a huge moment there, knocking off the player from MIRAENSEJONG. Now, the question is, can he hold on to this lead without a shield?
I mean, there's a lot of attacks that are coming through, actually. Water Bomb and a Rocket with no Angel Shield popped, and is that Angel Shield actually at value? Only 400 meters left to go. Hojun in first place right now, able to avoid that water balloon. Water balloon actually catching Striker right now, 100 meters left, and MIRAENSEJONG will get the track number 3 win. Now only 2 more maps away from sealing this victory and moving on into the top 4 of the postseason.
This is the MIRAENSEJONG item mode strategy we see so many times. MIRAENSEJONG, they're really great at kind of just saving up all of their items for the last moment and coming in with these crazy super plays where they're able to overtake their opponents. It looks so good for Desperado there, but as soon as we approach the final 500 meters, MIRAENSEJONG, they just all get informed together as a team and they take over with ease.
Yeah, they had an Angel Shield for a long time, and coming down that final stretch about 1 kilometer out from the finish line, I was wondering why they hadn't popped it. I felt like there was going to be a lot of value to be found, but MIRAENSEJONG just absolutely making the correct read, showing a lot of patience, taking some damage and using it at the critical moment right before they cross the finish line. That's why the pros are playing and the casters are casting, man. They know better than we do. And now MIRAENSEJONG, they're getting closer and closer to that finish line. They would love to close this one out without needing to go to an ace match.
Yeah, we just went through our 3rd round of item. MIRAENSEJONG, they're leading 2-1 in score right now. And because this is a best of 7 here in the wild card, MIRAENSEJONG, they still need 2 more track wins. So I feel like there's enough room for Desperado here to still come back. It's not looking dire for them just yet.
We will be moving on to Desperado's map of choice here as we get ready to load into track number 4. Desperado with a nice showing to start things off here in item mode, but MIRAENSEJONG is fighting back with a vengeance, and they are now only 2 track wins away from booking a ticket in the top 4. This upcoming track, World Tour San Francisco Seaplane Base. We're gonna need to see if Desperado can bring something new to the table and slow down this momentum. We go now 2-1 lead here for MIRAENSEJONG on a 3-lap track, but a little bit of a shorter one, not quite the marathon you might think it is, as Promise is in first place. Not too many items picked up. Actually, Hojun, man, that was like a pit maneuver on him. He got slowed down so much, but I don't think he's gonna mind.
Certainly not. Thankfully, Seaplane Base is a very long track. At least it feels like it, so we have plenty of time for our players to cycle through their items. It seems like Hero is getting that early lead, but it doesn't mean too much yet.
Here with the early lead, we'll see if he's able to actually build some momentum. It's hard to actually start to tempo things out unless the teammates behind you can absorb a lot of aggro or deliver a lot of aggro themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised if Striker is able to close the distance a little bit there on Hero. And the midfield right now, it's quite congested.
Certainly so, as we see Free Sky picking up that Siren. He's going to pop it, get some value on Hero just for a moment there, and now his focus is going to be on Hojin with the double shield, so it's going to be hard to take him out of that spot.
Oh, and Banana already has a lightning. I think it might be the first lightning that we've seen so far here in the best of 7, as per the previous patch, the proc gen on lightning a little bit lower than what it once was, and for now he's going to hold on to that. He's going to try and wait for the critical moment, maybe perhaps after an Angel Shield is popped and expired, that one will come out. We'll have to see when he decides to use it. But for now, Guard and Hojin pretty comfortably in first and second with a lot of shields.
Yep, Promise is the one really keeping his eye on Hojin and Guard to try to take him down. But when there's 4 shields, the ideal item is definitely the Magnet. So a great pickup there from Promise. Now he is catching up Free Sky with a nice Siren as well. Desperado doing all they can to stop Hojin in his tracks.
Yeah, this being a 3-star difficulty track, those Sirens coming through and actually being able to convert a lot of damage. Even Hojin, oh, for a second there I thought he might get UFO, but he is able to deflect that. Shield deflects another attack as well as he continues to work his way through that shortcut.
Yep, the momentum was lost on that jump on the side of Desperado. A beautiful water bomb's gonna catch Banana. But Banana's just holding on to that lightning, so I'm sure he's content playing that supportive role. Yeah,
both players with 1 Angel Shield and 1 lightning apiece right now, so the items really even the all top 3 racers for a moment there had EMPs, and actually no Angel Shield propping to try and deal with that Thunderbolt. Instead, they're just going to eat the damage.
Yeah, and now it seems like Hojin is sticking to that lead once again. He is pretty far ahead with Hero, and Guard with a beautiful usage on that Siren there is going to solidify this lead for MIRAENSEJONG even more.
Yeah, speed mode or item mode doesn't matter. Guard is a great sweeper apparently. As more attacks coming through, and these attacks are really starting to solidify the position here for Hojin, but he only has shields. He only has shields, so the Nitrous coming in for Striker and the double Angel on Promise is going to be something to watch out for here as we enter the final stretch.
Hojin's got a Magnet as well as Guard, so MIRAENSEJONG looking to make a play around that. There is no EMP on the side of Desperado. As we see Striker, he's leading, but he's got a Magnet on him.
Yeah, he does have the Magnet, and that Magnet might be enough for Hojin, although he does get slowed down, and Banana coming in from the outside will have just enough momentum despite the EMP to cross the finish line, and boy, we really have a match on our hands now, all tied up 2-2 here in item mode. It is going down to the wire.
Man, it felt like MIRAENSEJONG having the double Magnet combo with Desperado not having a response to that in terms of itemization. Might have looked like MIRAENSEJONG had a more favored chance to win there, but Desperado, they were able to read their opponent's play. Banana Free Sky came in calm and collected. You can see Nock was the only player in contention. Hojin was pretty far behind after some attacks he took.
Yeah, I feel like that was really the issue there for MIRAENSEJONG. The item spread, it wasn't that bad. It's not like they were completely outclassed in terms of item, but they just didn't have enough bodies close to the finish line. It was on 1 or maybe even 2 racers who weren't particularly close to each other, and that allowed Desperado to kind of choose and pick their damage and maximize it in the final moments and convert the win, and that's what Desperado does best. They're a very aggressive item team. They love to try and convert those attacks into wins, and certainly that succeeded for them there. So we'll see what they're able to do. All tied up 2-2 as this series goes from a best of 7 to a best of 5 to a best of 3. Only 2 track wins left for either of these teams as we move on to Forest Misty Falls.
And our item mode round 5 kicks off. We can see the track winning rate is pretty MIRAENSEJONG favored here, which is no surprise given that MIRAENSEJONG picked Misty Falls themselves, and we have a 2-star difficulty track on our hands. As we're going to see that barricade early usage coming out. Banana gets a nice momentum off that one.
Yeah, and the forest maps really favor MIRAENSEJONG. They love these ones in the regular season. I'm surprised they even got Misty Falls here in the postseason. Against Team Desperado, this track was not banned out, and we'll see exactly how MIRAENSEJONG is going to play this one. For now, it's only Nock in the lead, and he takes a lot of damage, so it will be Guard and Hero who are going to start to try and close the distance now on these remaining players for Team Desperado.
Yeah, and you can see Striker attempting for aggressive body play there, but the UFO is going to put a stop to that. Now Guard firmly in the lead. He's going to quickly cycle through the water bomb. He picks up a double shield.
Yeah, sacrificing a little bit of speed, a little bit of a line to try and pick up the double items there, and I think that's a smart call being in first place. Is on this little uphill portion, I love that early Thunderbolt coming out. That took so much momentum away from Desperado. The MIRAENSEJONG right now is holding on to all positions 1 through 4, but with another Thunderbolt coming in and no Angel Shield to be found, Desperado trying to come back.
Guard was able to be unaffected by that lightning, so he has such a big lead. The UFO finally does catch him, but look at the map. Free Sky is so far away. There's no vision for him to utilize his items. Guard is trying to run away with this one.
I think he actually might. It's early to call. It's only lap number 2, but Hojin, Hero, and Knock are all coming in with a ton of attacks in the midfield. And yeah, even an Angel Shield pops. Guard is able to deflect the Thunderbolt. I wonder how many meters ahead he is from Promise. And oh man, you can see with a rocket, they're trying to stop Promise from taking this shortcut and just really cement this win. Oh, the water boom is massive there from Knock.
And you can see Guard at this point, he's not even having items coming his way because he's so far ahead. Banana, he's got no items in his inventory. The Water Wisps are coming in. Guard, so close to that finish line.
Yeah.
And he is going to lock in that first place finish for MIRAENSEJONG.
I mean, that was just a clinic there by MIRAENSEJONG. Look at how far everybody else is from crossing the finish line. Wow, my goodness. I'm surprised we didn't have like players retire. It doesn't really matter here in item mode, but their lead for Guard was so substantial. I was kind of expecting like 2 or 3 different racers to not actually cross the finish line.
Yeah.
That was huge. And this is what MIRAENSEJONG has done so well all season, from the regular season now into the postseason, is especially on these forest maps, they play the tempo so well. Look at that, it was 2:09 for Guard. I didn't quite catch who was in second place, but it was like a 5 or 6 second lead, which if you're kind of a casual fan tuning in for the first time, it might not sound like a lot. But in a race that's generally as tight as Kart Rider Drift or really any of the other racing esports that are out in the world, 6 seconds is an eon. So now, MIRAENSEJONG on match point, 1 track win away from sweeping this series here against Team Desperado. Can they do it? Let's go to World Tour Venice Gondola Tour. Desperado fighting for their tournament life. If they lose this track, they are out. If they win this track, they will have one more chance to try and force an ace match. And MIRAENSEJONG, man, the super team, they were getting hyped up from the beginning of this season. And for good reason now, as they're getting closer and closer to a top 4.
Exactly, they're just 1 track win away from earning their spot in the lower bracket semifinal. So much more pressure on the side of Desperado to find a response. Fortunately for Desperado, it is their choice of track. And a popular strategy that we've seen from Desperado here is Banana, always being the key player to try to finish first, especially in the Venice Gondola Tour. So my eyes are locked on this player.
Yeah, and so far the sweeping coming in from Sirens has been really good for Team Desperado over the course of today. So we'll see if they're able to play that as well as, man, Knock, I love that line actually. He was able to sweep 1 player away from Desperado and then have a really wide drift to avoid that water bomb. Well played, as now attacks coming in on Striker. Ooh, man, what a timing on that shield.
Great reaction time there. So Striker is going to be able to hold on to his lead for just a little bit longer until Hero and Guard came along. And you can see Guard, he's got an Angel, so I assume Guard's going to play the supportive role, absorbing a lot of the aggro, and he's done a great job of that. Hero, he's got a lot of space for himself.
Yeah, and a scan does pop there. I think it was actually Guard that popped the scan, so they have a pretty good read on what Desperado has. That scan, very low proc rate, but it allows you to see the inventories of your opponent. So MIRAENSEJONG with a lot of information right now. They have 3 players first on this shortcut.
So much pressure right now being applied on Banana. All of these offensive items are preventing Banana from picking up items now. He pops his magnet. He's going for the play onto Hero, but the Water Wisp comes in at such a crucial time.
Oh, and he even gets items denied there by Hojin. Hojin blocks him from picking anything up. 400 meters to go. MIRAENSEJONG might be ready to book their ticket to fight Rocks in the final semifinal. Oh my goodness. What a performance from them. I mean, Desperado, they put on a fight. But at the end of the day, it's going to be 4-2 an item here for MIRAENSEJONG after dominating speed mode.
Yeah, they definitely had such a great performance today in MIRAENSEJONG. There were some doubts on this team just based on the fact that they did have a shaky season coming in. They lost a lot of ace matches, but that weakness didn't even need to come out today because they won in both speed and item in such a dominating fashion that it makes you excited to see what MIRAENSEJONG will bring us in the lower bracket semifinals.
I mean, they've just been so solid from start to finish here. 53% win rate in speed over the regular season, 75% win rate in item. And, you know, from the very beginning, we thought the win condition for Desperado, probably going to be them trying to beat MIRAENSEJONG in speed. Item mode is going to be a hard cookie to crumble, but Still, even though they're out, even though Desperado is eliminated, I loved what we saw, what they brought to the table. You can see that Banana worked really hard on trying to fine-tune their strategy here for the postseason. They were not doing only the high aggression style that they showcased in the regular season, so there were certainly some big adjustments, and they made it close, you know? A lot of those tracks were very close that MIRAENSEJONG won, except for that big tempo track there on one of the forest maps, and at the end of the day, it's a 4-2, Desperado going home, but hey, they're the only amateur team to make it to the postseason. And MIRAENSEJONG, let's be honest, it's kind of a surprise they were in the wildcard match in the first place. Definitely a team to watch out for.
MIRAENSEJONG definitely proved their worth once again today by beating our best amateur team here in the KDL regular season in such a way that you have to wonder. Rocks, I mean, they've had such a stellar season themselves as well, but now coming up against this form of MIRAENSEJONG where it feels like they've shaken away all the losses they previously experienced, who will have the edge?
MIRAENSEJONG certainly in item mode, and if they can play speed as well as they played speed today against Desperado, they might even be favored, even though they're coming in from the 4th seed against the 3rd seed Rocks. So really a lot to look forward to, as this was a pretty exciting match here between MIRAENSEJONG and Desperado. I really love how much of a show Desperado made it there in the item match, but at the end of the day, just not quite good enough. MIRAENSEJONG, despite only having a 4-man roster and no item ace, they played out of their minds.
Yeah, and it really helped out that MIRAENSEJONG, they were able to get that item priority here, given how close it went. Although it was a 4-2, if Banana were able to pick up the items that MIRAENSEJONG denied from him, that could have been totally different. So once again, we've got to see that power of MIRAENSEJONG in item mode we were talking about, pretty much confirmed against one of our best item team opponents today. And honestly, it feels like at this point, MIRAENSEJONG, they're looking pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, they are looking very strong, and frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it all the way to the finals this season, considering how well they just played against Desperado. If they can showcase the same speed skill against teams like the Freaks, like Live Sandbox, like Rocks, their next opponent, given how good they are in item mode, at least they're going to get an ace match. And they might even get sweeps both in speed and in item.
Yeah, and they even showed great form in speed mode today. Especially, I want to give out some shout-outs to the sweeping coming out of MIRAENSEJONG there. Knock and guard, they were just playing out of their minds, especially guard. There was so much camera focus on guard, and every time we had him on the screen, he was doing some crazy sweeping.
Yeah, even in item mode, it felt like he was getting like a lot of sirens and just doing like even more powerful sweeping in item mode. At times, it was pretty crazy. The body blocking plus the sweeping coming through from both knock and guard really cemented the 1-2 finish there.
Yeah, I love that you pointed out the siren. Because guard especially, he's mentioning that that's his favorite item. He feels so good on it.
Oh, did he mention? I didn't actually know that he mentioned that, but yeah, it totally makes sense. You watch him in speed mode, and his entire game plan is to just try and stifle the opposition. He does body blocks, he does body checks, he fights. It's fantastic to see. Anyway, fellas, we're going to go to a short break. When we get back, the solo match, round of 16 winners. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you soon.